You were trained to chase certainty, to wait until the stars lined up, until you were 90% sure, until the risk looked small enough that it felt safe to leap. But here's the paradox. The universe doesn't reward perfection. It rewards movement. It responds to energy in motion, not energy in hesitation. And that's why doors kept closing when you thought you were finally ready. Because readiness is a mirage. By the time you reached 90%, the opportunity had already passed. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, "I'll start when I feel more prepared, when I have more information, when the time feels right"? And yet perfection is seductive. It makes you feel like waiting is progress, when in truth, waiting is just disguised avoidance. What if I told you that acting at 70% certainty is not only enough, but actually the winning formula? Because 70% means you're uncertain, but moving. It means you're still alive to the unknown. That's when momentum begins to compound. Just like interest in a bank account, tiny steps taken consistently grow faster than you ever expect. But waiting compounds in the opposite direction. Each day of delay adds weight, resistance, lost timing. Waiting costs more than failure ever will. Close your eyes for a second and breathe into this. What is one decision in your life right now that you've been putting off? Waiting for the perfect moment to act. Hold it in your mind. Feel how heavy it has become. That weight is not coming from the decision. It's coming from the delay. You don't need to see the full staircase. You only need the first step. The universe doesn't give clarity in advance. It gives clarity as a reward for action. That's why momentum is magnetic. The moment you begin, life begins to synchronize around you. People appear, messages appear, doors appear, not because they were never there, but because they only unlock when you're in motion. This is the preparation paradox. And in this moment, you are breaking it. Just by listening, just by holding your attention here instead of drifting away. That's not small. That's the start of something massive. Because when you lean into movement at 70%, you aren't gambling, you're aligning. And alignment will take you further than certainty ever could. If you are still here listening, then you've already done something extraordinary. You passed a test so subtle that 99% of people fail it, without even realizing it was happening. That test was simple: stay or scroll, listen or flee. Most people don't even notice when their nervous system betrays them. They feel the faint discomfort of stillness, the gentle itch of distraction, and they obey it instantly. They leap to the next video, the next soundbite, the next shallow hit of dopamine. They never even know they surrendered. But you didn't. You're still here. Which means something inside you, something deeper than habit, deeper than distraction, chose differently. That is not an accident. That is alignment. Pay attention to your body right now, the subtle shift in your breath. Maybe your inhale has deepened. Maybe your heartbeat feels just a little slower, steadier. These aren't random sensations. This is your nervous system beginning to attune to a different frequency. One of focus, one of coherence, one of power. And the very act of holding your attention here is not passive, it's active creation. With every second you remain, neural pathways long dormant begin to stir awake. Circuits of possibility light up. Tiny electrical sparks of potential ripple through your system, building toward a momentum you can't yet see, but will soon feel. You may not notice it yet, but the quantum field around you is already responding. When you give attention, you give energy. And energy, by its very nature, organizes reality. Right now, simply by staying, you are telling life itself, I am ready to step beyond the loop. This was the test, and you passed it. Where most gave in, you leaned in. This is the moment the tide begins to shift. Not tomorrow, not next week. Now, so breathe. Inhale through your nose. Hold, exhale slowly. Again. Each breath is proof that change does not begin with grand gestures. It begins with a quiet decision to stay awake when the world begs you to fall asleep. You caught it, and that changes everything. You've been taught to wait for certainty, to collect all the information, to polish every detail, to move only when the odds look safe. But here's the truth. Waiting for 90% is how doors close before you even reach them. Because opportunities are not statues. They are rivers, they flow. By the time you're sure, the current has already passed. And the people who acted earlier, the ones who stepped in when the water was uncertain, when it was messy, when it wasn't perfect, they're already downstream riding momentum. Think of it like this. At 70% clarity, you are alive. Awake, still flexible enough to adapt, still present. Every step forward teaches you the next one. And so your movement creates its own guidance, its own map, its own momentum. But at 90% certainty, you wait, you rehearse, you polish, you second guess. And while you're polishing, while you're hesitating, the window closes. The door is gone. What could have been a breakthrough becomes just another regret. The universe does not reward hesitation. It rewards movement. Momentum is magnetic. Once you take the first imperfect step, the second appears, and then the third. It's like compound interest. One choice at 70% clarity multiplies. It creates ripples you cannot yet see. But those ripples extend far beyond this moment. Think of every opportunity you've ever delayed. The message you didn't send, the dream you did, the call you didn't make. Each delay had a cost. Not just in lost time, but in lost alignment. Each pause added weight to the doubt. Each hesitation made the step feel heavier until it seemed impossible to move at all. But the opposite is also true. A small, imperfect action creates momentum. And momentum, the staircase doesn't appear before you begin climbing. It appears step by step under your feet, revealed only after you trust yourself enough to lift your leg. This is why 70% beats 90%. Because perfection is a lie told by fear, and progress is a truth proven by action. So I'll ask you now, what is the step you've been waiting on? The thing you've been telling yourself you'll start. When the time is right, hold it in your mind, breathe into it, and know this. You don't need 90%. You don't even need 80%. You need only the willingness to begin. Because beginning at 70% creates more power than waiting at 90% ever will. Every great shift in life begins with a whisper inside that says, do it now, call them, write it down, step forward. And in that flicker, everything is possible. But here's the danger. You only have about 5 seconds before your mind shuts it down. Neuroscientists call it the brain's avoidance reflex. The moment you feel the spark, your system starts looking for reasons not to move. It dresses fear in the costume of logic. Be realistic, it says. You're not ready. It's not the right time. What if you fail? And if you don't act inside that window, if you don't seize the impulse before the fear takes the stage, The door closes, the chance evaporates, the dream goes back to sleep. That is the 5-second gate, the fragile space between your highest self and your habit self, the space where destinies are chosen or postponed. Think about your own life. How many times have you felt the pull to do something bold, and then within seconds, you smothered it with hesitation? How many ideas have slipped away? Not because they weren't possible, but because they weren't acted on quickly enough. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine counting down with me right now. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and moving. Sending the message before you can second. Guess it. Stepping into the gym before the excuses arrive. Clicking publish before doubt drags you back. Acting in that small sacred window is what separates dreamers from doers. And here's the secret. Each time you cross the 5-second gate, your brain rewires. It learns a new truth. It learns that action comes first, and confidence follows. It learns that momentum belongs to the brave, not the perfect. So, the next time that flicker arrives, pause, breathe, count down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then step. It doesn't have to be flawless. It doesn't have to be big. It just has to be now. Because everything you want is waiting on the other side of the gate. Fear is clever. It doesn't always come with pounding heartbeats or trembling hands. It doesn't always announce itself with panic. Most of the time, fear puts on a suit. It lowers its voice. It sounds calm, measured, and reasonable, and it whispers, "Let's be practical. Let's wait until the timing is better. Let's make sure you're really ready." That voice feels like wisdom, but it isn't. It's fear disguised as logic. It's hesitation dressed up as responsibility, and the more convincing it sounds, the more dangerous it becomes. Because you stop questioning it. You accept its reasons as truth. Think back on the moments you've delayed. How many of them came with reasonable excuses? You told yourself you needed more time, more money, more skill, more preparation. You convinced yourself that waiting was the wise choice. But beneath every excuse was the same root: fear of failure, fear of judgment, fear of not being enough. And here's the hardest truth. Those delays didn't keep you safe. They kept you stuck. Because fear's real goal isn't to protect you. It's to preserve the familiar. Even if the familiar has already turned into a cage. But once you see fear's disguise, the spell breaks. You realize you don't have to wait for it to vanish. You don't need it to agree with you. You can hear its whispers, thank it for trying to shield you, and still step forward anyway. That's what real courage looks like. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the decision to act with fear sitting in the passenger seat, while you stay in control of the wheel. Fear will always try to ride along, but it doesn't get to choose the destination. So the next time that calm, measured voice whispers, "Be reasonable." Not now. You'll recognize it. You'll smile and you'll remember. Wisdom doesn't stall, wisdom moves. Life doesn't reward the perfectly prepared. It rewards the brave who begin. Because once you step forward in spite of fear, the universe steps forward with you. Every choice you make carries weight. Every step you take plants a seed. The question is, are you planting seeds of movement or seeds of delay? Momentum works like compound interest. A single step today might feel small, almost invisible, like dropping a pebble. But what you don't see are the ripples racing outward. One call made, one page written, one brave decision. Each ripple collides with the next, and soon the surface of your life begins to shift in ways you never expected. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine the weight of hesitation. One day of delay feels harmless, but then another comes and another, until delay itself becomes a habit, until hesitation hardens into identity. And before you know it, you're building walls instead of bridges, stacking bricks of tomorrow, until you're trapped inside a prison of your own waiting. But the beauty of momentum is that it doesn't ask for giant leaps. It asks for small, faithful steps, taken again and again. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You don't need to see the entire staircase. You only need to ask, what is the smallest step I can take right now that aligns with who I want to become? Write the sentence, send the message, set the alarm. Step outside, breathe deep, smile when you don't feel like it. These are not trivial acts. They are signals. They're proof to the universe and to yourself that you are in motion. And once you're in motion, life responds differently. Doors that were invisible begin to appear. People you never expected cross your path. Opportunities align, not by coincidence, but by resonance. Remember this: delay compounds against you. Action compounds for you. Every moment you hesitate, the cost grows. But every moment you move, the reward multiplies. So the choice is simple. Will you let hesitation stack bricks around you, or will you let action carve the path beneath your feet? Because one step repeated daily will take you further than 1,000 steps imagined, but never taken. Before you take your next step, pause with me. Let's return to the one rhythm that has carried you from your first moment until now, your breath. Inhale slowly through your nose. Feel the air expand your chest, your ribs, your belly. Hold it gently for a count of 2. Now exhale through your mouth, long and steady, releasing tension you didn't even know you were holding. Again, inhale, expand. Open, hold. Exhale, soften, release. Notice what happens when you do this. The clutter in your mind begins to settle, like dust floating down to the ground. The endless swirl of what-ifs and not-yets loses its grip. With each breath, you become clearer, steadier, more present. This is not just relaxation, it's realignment. Your breath is the bridge between your body and your mind. It's the quiet lever that steadies your nervous system, signals safety to your cells, and invites clarity to rise. When your breath slows, your choices sharpen. When your choices sharpen, your actions align. Think about it. How often do people rush into their day without even realizing they're holding their... How often do they chase clarity in books, in advice, in endless preparation, when clarity was available all along, in the stillness of a single inhale? Right now, in this breath, you are more prepared than you realize. You don't need another year of practice, or another stack of research, or another voice telling you it's safe. What you need is the courage to exhale. So let your breath guide you. When fear whispers, breathe. When doubt rises, breathe. When hesitation tightens your chest, breathe. And then take the step, any step, not later, not someday, now, because the breath you're taking in this moment is proof. You're alive, you're capable, and you're already equipped to start. The greatest lie ever told to dreamers was this: wait until the time is right. You've heard it before, haven't you? That little voice inside, so calm, so convincing. I'll start tomorrow. I'll try again next week. I'll move when I feel ready. It sounds harmless, It sounds patient. It even sounds wise. But it's not. It's the most dangerous delay of all. Because tomorrow is not real. Tomorrow is a mirage painted on the horizon. You keep chasing it, but the closer you walk, the further it moves. Tomorrow never arrives. And yet, it robs people of entire decades, one postponed choice at a time. Think of all the doors you've seen in your life. Doors you were meant to open. Moments you were meant to seize. How many of them did you walk past because you told yourself, "Not yet"? And how many of those chances ever came back? The truth is brutal. Hesitation costs more than failure ever will. Failure teaches. Hesitation erases. One teaches you the next step. The other keeps you stuck where you are, rehearsing the same excuses until they harden into identity. Life doesn't wait for readiness. It doesn't pause until you feel confident. Time moves forward, with or without your permission. The only question is, will you walk with it or be dragged by it? Right now, this moment, you are at a crossroads. One path is crowded, safe, familiar, paved with excuses. On that path, people settle into quiet regret. The other path is narrow, uncertain, unpolished, but alive with possibility. Few take it because it feels risky. But those who do, they grow. They rise. They live with the fire of knowing they didn't wait for permission. They gave it to themselves. So ask yourself, are you waiting for a sign? Or are you ready to accept that this is the sign? Because there will never be a perfect time. There is only now. And now is the only real moment that ever held the power to change your life. The trap of waiting ends the moment you see it for what it is. A lie that stole too much already. Don't let it steal another day. Here's the irony. The more time you spend preparing, the less likely you are to begin. This is the hidden trap, the preparation paradox. Your mind convinces you that gathering more information, waiting for more certainty, polishing one more detail will make you better equipped. But studies, and life itself, the people who act when they are 70% sure consistently outperform the ones who wait for 90%. Why? Because by the time they reach 90, the window has closed. The opportunity has already shifted. The river has flowed on, and all that remains is the echo of, "What if?" Think about how many people you've seen stuck in endless cycles. They take the courses. They make the plans. They talk about what they'll do someday. But someday never comes because they're stuck in rehearsal, mistaking planning for progress. Every day you delay, the interest builds against you. Imagine investing a single dollar today that doubles daily for 30 days. You'd have over $1 billion, but if you wait just 10 days to start, you'd have less than $1 million. That's the cost of hesitation. That's what delay does to your dreams. The compound effect of postponement is invisible at first, but over time it becomes devastating. Preparation feels safe. It feels smart. But safety is the most expensive prison of all. Every time you wait, you reinforce the identity of someone who hesitates. Every time you act, even imperfectly, you reinforce the identity of someone who moves. And identity is destiny. So let me be clear, you don't need to be more ready. You don't need more proof. You don't need another guarantee. You only need to decide that readiness is not a feeling. It's a choice. The preparation paradox dissolves the moment you choose movement over mastery. Momentum over perfection. Because life does not reward those who know. It rewards those who begin. Tomorrow has stolen more dreams than failure ever could. It whispers gently, "You'll start. You'll act when you feel stronger. You'll begin when conditions are perfect." But tomorrow is a lie, a phantom that never arrives. Every moment you postpone, life is still moving. Time is still shaping your story. The question is, are you shaping it with intention or letting hesitation write it for you? You don't need flawless timing. You don't need 90% certainty. You only need this breath, this moment, this choice. Because the life you're chasing doesn't begin someday. It begins the second you step. So take a breath with me now. Inhale deeply, hold. Exhale slowly. And hear this truth: you are already enough. You already have what you need. This is your crossroads. On one side, delay, regret, what if? On the other, courage, momentum, alignment. You already know which path is yours. Don't wait for permission. Don't wait for the myth of readiness. Decide. Step. Begin. And as you do, know this: momentum is magnetic. The second you move, synchronicity starts sprinting to meet you. Opportunities appear. People align. Doors unlock. Not because they weren't there, but because you finally chose to walk toward them. Now it's your turn. If this message stirred something inside you, don't let it fade. Claim it, act on it, share it. Leave a comment below and tell me, what is the one belief, the one excuse, the one hesitation you're ready to release today? Your courage might be the spark that ignites someone else's breakthrough. And if you're ready to go deeper, to step fully into the life you know you're meant for, join our community. Subscribe now so you never lose this momentum. Together, we'll turn awareness into action, and action into transformation. Tomorrow is a lie. Now is the only truth. Your future is calling. Will you answer?